Alright, this is my wife's 2019 Honda Pilot. It has just shy of 80,000 miles on it, and we're going to change all the brake pads and rotors on the front and the rear. Alright, so we're going to be changing out the brakes with this Power Stop Evolution Sport carbon fiber ceramic pads, and also the rotors. I got a really nice kit here. I'm going to put links in the description. I won't bore you with all the details, but it's everything new, you know, pads, rotors, everything. And so these are drilled and slotted. So I'll put the link to the Amazon link in the video description. And I kept my eye on these for actually over a year before I finally purchased them. So one thing you'll find is that you can beat Amazon's price sometimes, but not if you get the free shipping with Prime. So what I found was, once I figured in on other sites what it was going to cost me to ship these, because they are very heavy, by the time you pay for shipping, the shipping alone was like over $60. And so with that, the Amazon was the cheapest. And so anyway, I'll put links to this in the video description, but even if you're using a different brand, the process that we're doing is going to be the same. So please check out the video description. In addition to calling things out during the video, you'll find in the video description that I'll list all the parts that I used. I'll list torque sizes, I'll list socket sizes, so that you'll know what you need for this job. So some of the things that I'll be putting in there, everything from this Stay Lube brake and caliper grease, this Sil Glide brake lubricant, this Permatex copper anti-seize. Those are the three lubricants that we'll be using. Need some brake parts cleaner. You may need some sort of a mask. You'll need some, this kit came with this brake caliper windback tool for piston compression, and also came with these caliper hanging brackets. And you'll see what all these are used for during this job. This is a special driver meant for, especially on these Hondas, to get the screw out of the rotor. And it's an impact driver where you put this on the screw and then you hit it with a hammer, and it's designed to go counterclockwise with each hammer hit, because that screw has a habit of sticking. So that's something that can be helpful with these. Also, I've got these special brushes that I'll be using to apply the copper anti-seize, the Sil Glide, and using a brush for each one, so they each have their own brush, so I'm not mixing that up. I'm going to be using, this is a new pack of brake screws if I would happen to need any. I've got those ready. I've got my sockets ready that I need. I've got some wire brushes. I bought some wire brush attachments for a drill if I decide to use those. I've got some extension socket pieces ready in case I need those. So I'll be calling out all this in the video. Anything that you see me use, I'll try to put in the video description. Alright, we're doing the front pads and rotors on our 2019 Honda Pilot. So the first thing we're going to do is use a 17mm socket, and we are going to remove the two caliper bolts. And so on the front wheels, an advantage you have that you don't have in the back is you can rotate the steering wheel to open this up just a little bit. Instead of having it be straight back here, brings it out just a little bit. So these caliper bolts are right here. Was one of them, and then the other one right here. Okay. So this caliper is very heavy. So I'm gonna want to hang it from the spring right here with this caliper bracket hanging tool. So when I take these bolts out, just want to make sure I'm supporting the caliper and prepared for the weight that it is. And then you might need a screwdriver just to kind of pry it away a little bit. Just like that. Okay, so you may want to make sure not to put weight on this brake line right there. So it's not very long, so we're gonna want to eventually, in a minute, we're gonna hang that. But what I'm gonna go ahead and do right now is I'm gonna compress my caliper pistons. And so there's a couple of ways you can do this. So one is that you can take your brake bleeder right here and you can open it up, and when you compress it, the fluid will come out there. And that's what you need to do if your brake fluid is old. We flush the brake fluid immediately before doing this job. So what we're going to do is leave that closed. We've taken fluid out of the master cylinder, so there's room in there for more fluid, and we're going to compress these. It's going to push some fluid back up into the master cylinder, but it's clean fluid. And that way when we're done, we don't have to bleed the system because it's not been opened. But if you have old fluid and don't want to risk, pushing back old fluid, then you would undo that, you would let that flow into something. As you push those back, then you tighten it back up. But then when you were done with the job, you'd have to bleed your brakes. So we are just going to compress them like they are. And so you're going to need some sort, I'm going to put links in the description to all this stuff, but this is the brake kit that we're going to use for this job. And so what I'm going to do is get this kind of set up. I noticed that in my kit I needed this disc that says the Roman numeral 4, like an IV. Okay, so I just get that inside my caliper, get this in there. Just trying to go till I get tension on the caliper. Okay, so I got a little tension on it, so it's going to start pushing it back. But if I just do it one at a time, when I push this one in, this one's going to come out. So I don't know if this is like really a proper fit, but it works. So I'm just going to take this flat one that I found in the kit. It's number 8. It doesn't really fit in there, but it presses in on it. So, and then I had this other caliper thing here, so basically gonna slide another one in like this to push on that, so that when I do one, I'm not pushing the other one back out and just kind of going back and forth. So I'm gonna hold this one in with this. Same thing, just trying to rotate till I get some initial tension there. Yeah, I don't really like that. I'm gonna kind of try to get a better coverage. There we go. Now it popped up. Okay. So now I'm gonna kind of This one goes counterclockwise that I got in there, and this one goes clockwise. Kind of press them at the same time, kind of alternate, so that I'm basically compressing both of those pistons together. Okay, so that feels like it's compressed. So I'm going to loosen this one. I'm going to loosen this one. Take them both out and see what we got. Okay, they're compressed. Alright, so in this set you got these nylon brushes, which is really soft. You have a brass, which is good for steel because it won't scratch it up. And then we have a steel brush, which is the most powerful. This I want to be careful because I don't want to scratch like the seal component, but these are just so dirty. I wanted to use the nylon brush just to kind of clean it up a little bit. Okay. Probably need a like a mask. There's a lot of dust in there, so I have a mask I was going to put on in a minute when we do the hub, but I should have used it there. So have some sort of mask if you're going to be brushing this brake dust. So anyway, I'm going to hang this back up. Get it out of the way. Okay, so here's when we took that off, the spring clip just fell off. So one thing I want to point out, at some point, depending on what you buy, you might have to reuse these. This Power Stop kit that I'm using, it comes with replacement clips, your spring clips and your clips that you need. So anyway, just so we're not going to worry about saving those or cleaning those. It also comes with these replacement boots right here. And there was one other item in there that must have fallen out in the box. This little thing right here that goes on the caliper slide also. So that's, we're going to see that in just a minute. But it comes with all that. So I just bring that up because you might have to save these, but we don't. So I'm just going to set those aside. But you do need to look at them, see how they go in. There's these little holes at the top of the brake pads that these spring clips go into. So you just really want to pay attention when you're taking things apart, because you may assume it's going to be obvious how it goes back together. So one thing like that, okay? Out of both pads, there's one position that has this noise clip to let people know when they almost have no brakes left. So it goes on the inside at the top. So that's the same as on the other side. So I'm making some notes as I do this project on things like that. Now I need a 19mm bolt to take off what we call our caliper bracket. So these are these bolts right here. These big bolts right there. Want to hang on to it so it doesn't fall. Okay. Okay. So this is our caliper bracket. If you get confused about the orientation, you know that these large bolts we just removed are in the back. So that means if I set this down, I forget what orientation it's in, I can go back to this to know this is my top of my pads. And the reason that's important, this clip and this clip are not the same. So this clip at the top has this piece protruding upward. This one at the bottom does not have that. It's flat on the top. So again, we don't need to save those because our kit came with new ones. Your kit might not have those, so if you buy brakes, check it before you do this so you know what to save, what to keep, and so you don't waste time cleaning things that you're going to replace anyway. So for example, these rubber boots, a lot of times you would want to clean, but our kit came with new ones, so I'm not going to clean those. So what I'm going to do as we go is I'm going to go ahead and clean this up real good. So what the main thing is, even though you may say, well, I just like it to be clean, what needs to be clean are this spot where those clips were going. So right in here, that needs to be clean. And then when we get to these caliper slide bolts and everything inside there, that needs to be cleaned. All of them, but here's my brass brush. Okay. So right here where these clips go, that's where I want to be. Just put that in those grooves. And it really doesn't take much. So I'll put links to this set I got where you get all three of these: nylon, brass, and steel. And I use them for a lot of stuff. You can usually get several uses out of them, and they're not expensive. I'm pretty sure the set came with 3 of each. Okay, this one a little dirtier. I may step up to the steel one here. Okay. Alright. So you can see all the dust here on my work area. Alright, so I feel good about where those are going back in. Alright, so now I'm just going to hit those areas with a little brake clean that we just did. Okay, so these are caliper slide bolts. So again, this is how this was on there, which means this is the top. I'm going to do this top one first. And you're going to see on the top one, it's got this black piece on the end. That's not going to be on the bottom one. But right away I can take off this because I have a replacement, so I'm not going to worry about that. I'm getting that brake clean on my pants after I sprayed it. Okay. Alright. So I just want to clean up. I'm just going to do one bolt at a time so that I can complete it and then put it back in and then do the bottom bolt. So the bolt we will reuse. Just want to wipe it off. I've got this little pick I can use to pick this off like that. Just kind of wipe it with the rag. Here's the new one. Doesn't appear to be any direction on these. So they just pop on like that. Here's the new boot. So before I do anything with that, I really, one thing I wish I would have had was some sort of drill attachment brush that would go way down in this hole and clean it. But I'm just using the end of this regular lead acid brush I have, or whatever it's called, that I'm using to apply like all my silicones and stuff like that, and I'm just shoving a shop rag down in there and cleaning out residue down in that hole. You can tell we're getting quite a bit of stuff out just with the end of that brush. And then I'm going to take a little bit of brake clean. Now I'll point this away from me here. Okay, just kind of put some of that in there. Pour it out. I'll go ahead and run my brush in there one more time with the shop towel. It's already pretty clean. Okay, now just to dry it, I'm going to use this blower. And I can see down in there that it's clean. I'm going to take this boot. Alright, so we just kind of squeeze this boot till it kind of goes in there. You gotta kind of pinch it to make it smaller. Okay, so now it's in there. Alright, so now that we've cleaned out the inside, put the new boot on, now I want to take my silicone, which in this case is my Sil Glide. Alright, so I'm going to get just a little bit inside that boot. Just want to paint that around with that brush. Okay. Next I want to take my clean caliper bracket. I'm going to put some on that. Take my brush. I'm not putting it on the tip down there, but pretty much everywhere else. Okay. It's a pretty good coat. So now what I want to do is twist this and push it in and out as I go. So I don't just shove it down in there. I kind of move it around. And that black plastic thing that we changed out on the end, part of me wonders if it's better off not doing that because it makes it a lot tighter. I find this to be, you know, much more difficult by changing that plastic piece out. So I have mixed feelings about whether or not I should even do that, because you see how hard it was for me to push that in. So, you know, I want to be able to pull it back out, and it's just difficult with that black plastic piece. Changing that out, it really just makes it such a tighter fit. So I want to move that silicone around in there, and ultimately I want to get this boot up on this part of the bolt like that, so that the boot is attached, you know, it's up at the top of the bolt, it's also around there, and then we just kind of are able to move that around a little bit, make sure all the air's out. Okay. So now the other one at the bottom doesn't have that, so it's a little easier. So we're going to pull it out next. So again, we're going to throw this away, this boot. I'm going to take a rag, I'm going to clean off this bolt. See, this one doesn't have the black plastic thing at the end. So note the shape of this bolt, how it's got a rectangle, and that's going to come into play later when we put our caliper back on. So see the shape of this right here? This is going to end up being right here. Anyway, we'll see that later. Alright, so we are going to take the end of one of our brushes here, stick it down in there with our shop rag. Okay. Go ahead and get a little bit of our brake clean on there. Okay. Okay. Now we're going to put our rubber boot on there. There we go. We got it seated all the way around. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to take some of our silicone, squeeze it inside of the boot there. Let's paint up the inside of that. Okay. Now I'll take our clean bolt. Spread it all around. Okay. So as we put it in, we kind of twist it. See how easy this one goes in and out? So much easier. So we just want to kind of twist it, move it in and out. Don't want any air in there. There, we had some air in there. So it kind of squeezed our boot like an accordion. Okay, so our caliper bracket is done. What we're going to go ahead and do, since we've already cleaned where the clips go and it's still fresh in our mind about the differences between the clips, I'm going to orient this again where I know my bolts go in the back. So this is the top. Okay. So the top is on my left. I'll look at my different clips that I have. And the one clip has the tab up there, and that's the one on the top. So I'm going to put that in. So I just want to snap those in. Okay. Those are in good. Now I got these on this side. And notice when I'm snapping them in, if you wonder what's keeping them from sliding back and forth, they have these tabs on the inside that positions them correctly, where they're not going to slide too far. So if you're having trouble though, that may be why you're having trouble. You might just look at where those are located. Make sure they're not preventing you from going in where you're supposed to. Okay. Now popping in real smooth. That popped in. Let's see. Okay, so those are looking nice. Ready for our pads later. So we're going to set that aside. Alright, so next we're going to remove this rotor to get to the hub. This is a special screwdriver you're going to want to invest in. It's an impact driver where this screw is famous for sticking, but I've loosened mine in the past, so I think we can get ours easy. Look at that. But what a lot of people say is they can't get that, so they take this, and it's designed that when you hit it with the hammer at the end, it naturally rotates it counterclockwise. So I went ahead and invested in it. But what you can do, anytime you rotate your tires or take a wheel off, you can see that. So what I did when I read about that a long time ago is I just made sure I could loosen it. And then, because its only reason for being there is to hold this on when you'll see it in this process of what its point is. But anyway, for us it's easy. We're just gonna take that off. But for some people it's hard, and that's what you would do, is use this screwdriver. And then we're gonna go ahead and replace that screw also. And again, links to everything are in the description. But when we put it back together, we'll put a new screw in right there. So now we'll see if this is gonna be stuck. It is a little bit, so we will take our rubber mallet. Okay, it's not stuck anymore. These are heavy, very heavy. So we'll remove that. So this is a part that we are replacing, so we will be getting rid of that. I'm just going to kind of set it out of my way. Okay, so now this is where I'm going to put on my uncomfortable mask. I hate these things because they make my glasses fog up, and I got to be able to see. So but I'm getting ready to use a drill and a wire brush on my drill to clean up the hub. So we want a flat surface for our new rotor to sit on. You can end up with something called runout if this hub isn't completely flat, and that can cause problems with your new brakes. So all these steps have a reason. Okay. Okay, so that's going to be smooth. Now we get to painting. So you can get this Permatex copper anti-seize lubricant. I'll put links in the description. I'm trying to get rid of a very old bottle I have. It's nasty, so I'm using one of these acid brushes to paint it on. This stuff's very messy. Gonna ruin anything it touches, but you're gonna need quite a bit for a brake job because, well, you're gonna see what all we have to do. But we're gonna paint this so it won't stick to our new rotor. You saw how we had to use a rubber mallet. That wasn't that bad. You know, if it's stuck, it could be a problem. So by putting this stuff on there, it makes, you know, the next person that tries to get a rotor off, they're gonna be thankful that we did this, and we're planning on keeping this car for a very long time. So that next person might be me. So I am trying not to get it on the threads. You don't want anti-seize on your threads. So if I do get any on there, I will come back and use a rag and wipe it off. Okay. So there's that. See, I think I got it. That's really on the base. It's really not even on the thread. So that's pretty good. Alright, so in this box, these are the ones for the front wheels. And I believe, I might be wrong, but it checks out right. Well, it's showing two rotors are in here, and there's an XL and an XR. And I was just guessing that they're meaning left for driver and right for passenger. But when you look at them, they don't say XL and XR. Okay, so anyway, in this kit, these are the ones for the front tires. You can tell how small this is after that. And then on the rear, look how much they stick out. So there's a completely different design. So the other one that we put on, we had already done one off camera, the passenger front, and it has a sticker that said passenger front. This one actually says driver rear, but that's the wrong sticker because these are the rears. So we're gonna put this on the driver front. So some of these are shipped with an anti-rust coating. These really didn't say anything on them, but it's safer unless there's something there that tells you not to clean them. It's safer to clean them. So I'm going to go ahead and use brake parts cleaner and just give them a quick spray. Just in case there's any film that we don't want to get on our brand new brake pads and mess them up. So basically I'm just spraying the brake parts cleaner and wiping it off. And this brake parts cleaner evaporates very quickly. You want to be in a ventilated area with this stuff. It's got a strong smell. Okay. So for orientation wise, this is the outside that sticks out. The one that goes in is the inside. So this surface right here is going to go up against this. And so I'm going to once again want to do my painting, and I'm going to want to put some anti-seize on this surface right here. Alright, so that's plenty good. So now, when I turn it over this way, I can see this nice indentation where that screw went that we talked about earlier. So there's my screw hole right there, that one that I said can stick sometimes, the one that we use this special screwdriver to get. So I'm gonna line that up with that hole. Okay, now from my glove I got a little bit of ASCs on that thread. I'll wipe that off on a few of these. Okay, so now I'm going to take one of my new screws and for reasons we've been discussing, I'll put some ASCs on that screw. Okay. Put that screw in there. Okay, I do not want to tighten it down a lot, but the point is just to hold it there. Okay. So our wheel is going to end up going on over this at the end. So I got one other painting job to do, this anti-seize, so that our wheel doesn't stick. Whoop, did not mean to see. We get that stuff on your gloves, it wipes off on everything, so I'm gonna have to wipe that off that outside, keep it off of the threads. That's why I like to use the brushes for the details and just use this to kind of slap it on there. Okay, that's plenty. What a mess. That stuff is nasty. Okay, so I want to wipe it off this. Okay. Alright, so now I'm going to take our brush, start filling in these gaps. Okay, that is ready for our wheel when we're done. I'm going to take this caliper bracket, the one with the gigantuous 19mm bolts. So okay, I don't know if you can see or not, but just line it up. These bolts go in right there. kind of snug those up. Okay. They get torqued to 101 foot-pounds. Kind of an awkward angle to do torque, especially 101 foot-pounds. I have to get where I can get some leverage. There we go. Alright, caliper brackets are on there. Next part is the tricky part. I would not want to do this without a helper. So this is where we put in the brake pads and the spring clips. So putting the brake pads in is fine until you add the spring clips, and then they try to bounce out. So these is what I'm talking about with the spring clips. Okay. So this back one, there's the noise maker for when the brakes that went in this orientation. So the ones on the back side are the ones where the calipers are going to be hitting. So what I'm going to do there, this is optional, you do not have to do this. Take a very small amount of this brake and caliper grease. I'm just going to paint a small amount where I think those calipers are going to touch it. Again, this is optional. The other thing I'm going to do with this brush is where my brake pads are going to slide in here. I'm going to just touch on these clips on the inside. I'm not getting it on the brake rotor. I'm doing it right where my clips are going to slide in. Where my brake pads are going to slide in, excuse me, on the clip. So I have 4 areas I want to do, you know, on each side. Okay, so just a little bit, very small amount. Alright, so what I'm going to do next is take my pads. We already said this. Remember, when if you grab that, that's going to get right on your hand. So now I got to position these in there. Find it. Okay, that's in there, right? Okay, now I don't need any grease on this side as far as on this pad. I'll put it in right there. So if you find you can't get it in there, this bar might be in your way. So I need to put this brake inside of this bar before I try to line it up in there. Inside of that bar before I try to pop it in. So if it just won't go, see if you're hitting on this piece right here. Okay. Alright, so there's holes, little bitty holes for these pins. And this is where things get difficult. Because those pads are staying there nicely until now. As soon as you put these in there, it pushes out. Pushes out. So you have to keep a hand there, those pads are going to go flying out. Okay, yeah, this is all twisted. We gotta keep pressure off of that, so I gotta have that right. I think it's gonna be here. Let's see, how do we do this? Alright, let go, and then just be there to try to help. Yeah, push those in. Push those. Okay. Let go. Okay, so now it's very heavy. And it's not, nothing's holding it on. So now earlier when I was pointing out about those bolts having to be in the right orientation, I was talking about this metal on the end of the caliper bolts has to allow this, but basically there's a flat piece on this caliper bracket where this bolt has to sit in there, and it is. So I'm going to take my bolts and see if they'll go in. Looks like I'm gonna have to rotate that again. I don't think it's gonna tighten up the right way. I can't tell. Okay. Now that slid in there the right way. Okay. Okay. So now that I got those in there correctly, the torque spec on those is 53 foot-pounds. It's a little easier to get than 101 from a weird position. Okay. Now that one is done, and we put the wheel on. I see where I've got some anti-seize places where I don't want them. Go ahead and wipe that off. Okay. Alright, so now we'll put that wheel back on. Alright, so now we're going to do the rear brake pads and rotors on this 2019 Honda Pilot. So we're going to go ahead and get started. By removing the caliper bolts, which are 12 millimeters. Okay, not going to be able to get my impact gun back there with the coil spring, so going to have to come up with a different plan real quick. Okay, probably put this where I can use the extension there. Okay. Okay, those loosened. I'm going to put my caliper bracket hook on this coil spring. Pry it away. Like that. I want to make sure not to put any pressure on this brake line right here. So I can compress that piston. I'm just gonna, before I hang it, I'm gonna just kind of set it right here so I can push that back. So we got this, it's called a brake caliper windback tool and piston compression. So off camera I'm going to take a minute, figure out what size I need, and then I'll come back and let you know. For these smaller calipers in the back, I'm using the letter N out of this box, and it was sitting right here, and then using this. So what I do is I take this and put this on there like that. This has a magnet in it. This goes on there. I'll pop it in the caliper. And then this one I have here, I rotate counterclockwise to get it to tighten inside of there. I want to kind of look at it now. I'm getting, gotta look at it, make sure it's lining up with where I want to compress. Okay, so the way I'm doing it, I had already done a brake fluid flush, a bleed, so it's all new fluid. So I don't mind just pushing fluid back up into the master cylinder because it's clean, and I left room in the master cylinder to receive more fluid. Another way to do it is to loosen your bleeder, and when you compress the piston you just shoot brake fluid out that hole, and you can get something to catch it or let it spill on. So that's how you would have to do it if your fluid was dirty, because you don't want to force dirty fluid back up through there. It can do some damage, but ours is clean. So we're keeping our system closed. Our cap is on for our master cylinder, so I'm not going to introduce air. If you do it this other way with the bleeder, you can introduce air, and then at the end of the job you got to bleed all the brakes. So the way I'm doing it, we don't have to bleed the brakes at the end, because just forcing it right back up in there in a closed system. So all right, so that did it. Be using this on the other side. I'm just going to leave it all together. And then I have this nylon brush. I have this brush set I'll put in the description. It's got these nylon, brass, and steel. I'm just going to use nylon to kind of clean some of the stuff right around here. I don't want to scratch this black rubber seal. That's why I'm not using a brass or steel brush. But I think I will on the, I'm going to use a brass on just on the caliper a little bit, just to knock off some of that loose brake dust right there. Okay. Okay. Just want to be mindful of how we're handling that hose there. It's a little bit of a challenge on the rear because the coils are so low. So having trouble figuring out. I think I'm just gonna have to set it there, right here. So now you can see on this kit that we're using, there's the brake pads for the rear. It's got these new boots right here, and it's got the new brake clips and these spring clips. So the reason I point that out is not all brakes will come like that, so I'm not going to save those because the kit came with them. But if your kit did not, you'd want to keep track of all this stuff. So I'm just going to set these clips aside, set our old brake pads aside. Okay, so on this vehicle, this is your, I'm trying to remember what they call it. It's what tells you when your brakes are pretty much expired. Trying to find the name of it for you, but it's a noise maker. It's if your brake pads are that low, it's what's gonna make noise. Okay, so what I want to make note of is that on the rear, this clip is on the bottom inside. So it's on the inside pad and it's on the bottom. So now that we got those out of the way, we want to remove our caliper bracket. So for that, I'm going to need 17 millimeter bolts. Can you see those?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, am I going the right way? Yep, gotta, so when you do it backwards, you gotta think about it. It's the opposite. Okay. Hard to get torque when you're working from this angle. Okay. Couldn't get my impact back there in the front. I could, but I didn't have room in the back because that coil spring being lower. Okay, when I got that off there, you could see that shift. So I need to hold it on there when I take out this bolt. Okay. So here's our caliper bracket. Okay, so again, it's for orientation purposes. I want to look at this. This is the top and this is the bottom. So again, this is also opposite from the front. These two clips. The one on the bottom is the one that has the tab up here. This one has no tab. So I wanna make note of that. So I'm just gonna take those clips off. I'm gonna use my brass brush. What I need to do to clean this caliper bracket up is right where those clips went, right here. I need to clean out real well inside there so our new clips fit in these grooves really well. So that's all I'm mainly concerned about is that. Trying to make sure you got plenty of light to see what I'm doing. Just a little bit, it looks like new in there. So the rest of it, you're welcome to spend time cleaning, but it really doesn't do anything. So this is where the clip is going. That's where we need to clean. Okay. 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 So now I've got that ready to accept the new clips. Now we're going to change out these caliper pins. So I'm going to pull one of them out at a time, and with that, the boot. Okay, so this set came with new boots. so I don't have to worry about wasting time cleaning this. If it didn't, I would want to clean that before I reused it. But since we're going to be throwing it away, I'm not going to waste time cleaning it. So here's our caliper pin. All you got to do is wipe that off with the rag. Okay, I'm going to set it aside and get my pack of boots out here. And grab one. Just kind of set it over here with our pin. And right now what I want to do, I'm going to take my acid brush and just use the handle. I wish I had something better to clean down in there where the pin goes, but I'm just going to use the shop towel and the end of this brush to kind of go down in there. Let's kind of try and get some debris out of there. And then I'm going to take some brake clean and I'm going to spray down in there, and while I'm doing that I'm also going to hit where we cleaned for the clips to go. Let's kind of give them a couple of quick sprays and then just a little bit down in the hole, and then let's kind of let that sit there for a second. Okay, I'm going to use that blower to kind of dry that out and just dump it out. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take that new boot and we're going to, it looks like this. We want the end with that little long collar on it that's a little smaller, and we're going to just kind of press fit it in there. Just kind of twist a little bit till it pops in like that. We're going to take our silicone Sil Glide brake lubricant. Put some on our brush. Just going to put this inside that boot. Okay. Just kind of, this boot's kind of like an accordion. You can kind of stretch it out. Just kind of paint all up inside it. And we're going to take our clean caliper bolt and put some silicone along that. Just like that. Take our brush, kind of paint around the whole bolt. We're not putting it on the very tip, but we're covering all the sides. So now what we're going to do is take that, and while we're putting it in, we want to kind of twist it once we get into this part and pull it in and out. So So then I want to take this boot and push it up on the make sure it kind of gets all the way up. Okay. So now we got the pop up on there. We want to kind of do that. We want to see if there's any air stuck. Get that out of there. Now we'll take this other one out. Okay, so we're going to replace the boot. Now in the front, these have this little black rubber thing on it, and what I used to pull it off was this tool right here. But I found that when I replaced it, it was really just not moving at all in there. It was very tight in the front, so I'm thinking I may leave that alone and just leave that one on there. But that's how you would take it off if you wanted. You just use that little tool I showed you. Alright, so we're going to set that aside. We're going to try our... This is where, you know, if you're buying stuff, you might find a brush that would do a better job of going down in this, going down in there and cleaning this out. Than what I'm doing here with the shop rag. And okay. Okay. Now we're going to get our new boot. Okay, pops right in. Take our Sil-Glide, put our silicone in there. Okay. Just kind of stretch the boot out just a little. Get that silicone in there. Grab our pin. Just put a strip down there. Start spreading it all over that pin. Okay. 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 Just kind of move it around, twist it, push it in and out, trying to spread that silicone around in there. Okay. So I need to get it up more on this bolt. It's not. I need that accordion boot to come up all the way. Haven't really had problems with that before. There does seem to be a more pronounced collar on this one than on the front ones, where you gotta kind of pop it over. You don't want to tear it. Okay, went right on. Was able to kind of grab it with a thumbnail, even through the rubber glove. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside. Alright, so we're going to take off this rotor, and there's it's called a JIS number 3 screw right here, and these can get super tight. So this is an impact screwdriver. My front ones were fine because I had loosened them at some point in the past when I was doing a tire rotation. This, I call it an impact screwdriver because it's designed, when you hit it with a hammer, it's designed to move a little bit counterclockwise to loosen up stubborn things like this. Alright, we got it. That was a pain. What I did was I went ahead and set the e-brake just to keep that from rotating on me. But now that we got it, I'm going to take the e-brake off because I don't want to forget to take it off when we're working on those back brakes. So it's off again. So that was a pain. But anyway, I'll put links to the screwdriver in the description. Also, I bought a bag of replacement screws, so I'm not going to reuse this screw that I'm taking out. Okay, and this is not stuck to the hub, so we're going to remove this. Okay, one thing I wanted to show you. On the rear only, not on the front, but on the rear brakes, when you take off your old rotor, this is our old one, this is a rubber grommet, and it needs to be reused. So I got to figure out how to grab that out of there. Alright, I'm going to try grabbing it from this side with the pliers and see what happens. Because it seems to be really thick on this back side. Yep. So, the way it's built, it looks like it comes easier from the back side than the front. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say with these things, but... And I'm not an expert on brakes, but this has to do with setting your e-brake and adjusting that you can do, but I'm not going to comment on all that because if you need to do that, I'd want you hearing that from somebody else. Alright, so now I'm going to put on my mask, which I don't like because it makes me not be able to see. It makes my glasses fog up. But I'm going to be using a drill with steel brush on it to clean off this hub. So I'm going to have a lot of dust airborne. So I'm going to limit the amount of time I hopefully need this mask on. Because I also need glasses and safety glasses. So Alright, it's fogging up already. So here's my drill with this steel brush, and I'm trying to clean up the hub. Okay, so that's pretty good. Get rid of this thing so I can see again. Alright, just gonna kind of get a look at it with that mask off. Okay. Okay, so what I want to do is, this is where we have fun painting with the messy copper antiques. Stuff is nasty. Okay. So, still want the new rotor to stick to the hub, but I also don't, because I have all these holes in the rear, I don't have the space I had on the front to just put blobs with that and start painting, so I'm going to have to put small dabs and not use that much on the back. Basically, I'm just trying to accomplish where the rotor won't stick to the hub. That's all I'm trying to accomplish, so I just need to kind of paint up a little bit. Don't want it on my threads. Don't want too much. The reason that we use the wire brush with the drill is to prevent what they refer to as run out, where if you had rust build up on your hub, this is the hub that I'm painting right now, you could have uneven spots, and that would make your rotor not sit flush against the hub, and that's what they call run out, if you want to look that up. And basically causes, you know, your brakes not to perform like you want, and can cause your rotors to wear unevenly and prematurely. So it's definitely important. Okay, so that little step right there is to keep the rotor from sticking to the hub. Alright, so these are the part numbers for the rear hubs. They end in L and R. But on here they don't say that. This says rear passenger side. Well, we're on the driver's side, so I'll set that one aside. And then this one says rear driver's side. That's what we want. So, some might have instructions telling you that your rotors have been surfaced or have been coated with a material you're supposed to leave on. It's supposed to help the new pads. Ours didn't say that, so I'm gonna clean them off just in case. Sometimes they'll put a coating on there to keep them from rusting, and that you're supposed to take off with brake clean or brake parts cleaner. So Let me grab my can. Okay, so I have some brake parts cleaner here. We're just gonna coat it just in case it has some sort of coating that we don't want on our new brake pads. Really don't know if it does or doesn't. So I'm just spraying it and wiping it. That's all we're going to do. It evaporates very quickly, but we're also giving it a wipe just to put some muscle on it in case it's got some sort of coating. Maybe you would be able to get it off there. Okay. Okay, that'll do it. Alright, so looking at our new rotor, you're going to see a couple of indentations. This one's going to be for that screw that we had trouble getting off, our new screw where this has got a bevel there. And then this one is to put that. So, alright, so needle nose pliers. Just kind of open out. There we go. Okay, so I used the tip of the needle nose pliers to just kind of work its way around. Shove it in. Okay. And it's intact. I think pretty tough. Okay, so that's how we did it. My wife's idea on the needle nose pliers. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is this we want to prevent from sticking to that. So we already have that surface painted up with our antices, copper antices. Now we want to do that to this surface right here. So I have quite a bit more area to paint. So I'm going to put a few, give myself a couple of little blobs to work with. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to paint this up. Okay. Okay. That's our surface. It's going to touch that. So now when I put this on, instead of just putting it on any old way, I want to look for this beveled one and then find my screw hole for that special screw. I'm going to want antices on these screw threads for obvious reasons. You saw how hard it was for us to get that off of there. Okay, so all that's ready to roll. So now I'm going to want to line up that hole with that hole. So I'm going to want to put it on like this. Okay. take our screw, put it in right there. Put that on there. Good. Don't over torque this. There's no reason to. Just want to get it snug. Alright, so now that we have that on there, we're just having so much fun painting. We're just going to keep painting. So this is what we want to paint because our wheel goes on here. And we do not want our wheel to stick to our hub, our rotor here. Again, don't want it on the threads. That gives me a good start before I grab my brush. Finally, some, painting, some artistry I can handle. Okay, so that does it for our copper antices. So now we're going to put our caliper bracket on. Before we do that, haven't put in our metal holders yet. There's the one without the tab. We said that goes up on the back wheels. Well, that's interesting. Our replacement tabs don't have any. They have the tab at the top, so I just gotta. Those two are the same. I think all four of these are identical. Okay. So they don't have tabs on these power stop ones, so they just treat them all identical. Here's the little clips we gotta figure out how to put on. Those were already on the front ones. Okay, I don't like the way those fit. This has me wanting to revisit my old ones. So, the tab was on the bottom. This was on like this, which makes this the bottom. This is the tab. So what I'm going to do real quick before I even experiment is I'm just going to take a brush and I'm going to presume that I might be reusing these. So I've already cleaned up my other ones. So instead of introducing contaminants when I try it out, I'm just going to go ahead and give it a quick clean so I can find out if they fit any better, because the front ones fit really well. Okay. Okay. So, tab on the bottom. Find out if these fit any nicer. Definitely. Yeah, I'm sticking with the original clips on these. The other ones just didn't fit nearly as nicely. So they were pretty easy to clean up. So we're going to stick with those. Okay. So I'm going to put these on. Uh, 65 pound-feet. Alright, 65 pound-feet. So the torque specs on the front and the rear are different. So just make sure you're checking that out. They're in all my videos. I put them in there. Okay. All right. Okay. So on this one, this noise maker on the inside one on the bottom, so that would be on this one in that location. Just gonna see how it's in there. Just like that. Okay. So it's going to be like that. And on the back, in the middle, I'm going to have that piston. Hitting that right in the middle. So I'm just, this is an optional step, just going to put that where that piston is going to hit that. And then the other thing I'm going to do with this, you just put it where the brake pad is going, right there. Just a small amount. Okay, and that I was using was this stuff. Brake caliper grease. Oh, I didn't put it on the top. Okay. So, that's easy. Hard part is when you put these clips in. These little holes right here. The springs have a lot of force and push the pads out, and they will knock them right out of there. Alright, so we got the camera on a tripod now because I'm going to need my wife's help. Okay.
Do it.
Okay. So now it's like you got to figure out how to hold that, and at the same time get this over it. Okay. And you got to watch that brake line. So, you got it?
Mm-hmm.
Hold it at the top still. Slide your hand up it. Okay. Alright. Take your hand off. Push those pins in a little bit. See how they kind of... Okay. That's hard, the hard part right there. Okay. And then when these caliper pins have these rectangular metal pieces on the end, and you see how they go up against these, you have to kind of rotate the end of these caliper pins so that they'll line up with this. Alright, So now, gotta figure out, gotta get these bolts lined up. Okay. £25 pound-feet. Okay. Alright, so before we put our wheel on, we want to put this cover on our bleeder valve right there to protect dirt from getting in there. Alright, so this brake is done and we just need to put our wheel on. So then we just lift our wheel back on. We stirred all these by hand. We'll torque them when it gets on the ground, but we want to snug them up enough so that when we lower it, the wheel doesn't move, like it doesn't go side to side. So we want all the lug nuts to be snugged up against the hub. Okay. Alright, now that we have the vehicle on the ground, our last step is to torque the lug nuts to 94 foot-pounds. Okay, we're going to do that to all four wheels. Okay, so we've been leaving room in this master cylinder so that when we compress our, our pistons, that we can push some brake fluid back and not overflow. So when we're done, we're gonna put this back in there. We're gonna top it off with our new brake fluid. We're gonna put this in there and make sure it's at the fill line. So we're gonna do that. Okay, so after the whole job is done, after the vehicle's lowered, we got all the lug nuts, wheel lug nuts torqued down to 94 foot-pounds. This is the break-in process from Power Stop for these Evolution Sport brake pads. Okay, it says break in new brake pads rotors using the pad bedding, B-E-D-D-I-N-G, procedure as follows. Proper pad bedding can prevent rotor warping. The break-in procedure is critical to brake performance. The reason for a proper break-in is to establish an even layer of friction material deposited on the rotors from the brake pads. It is very important that this initial layer of friction material is evenly distributed. So it has basically a three-step process. So you have to drive to do this. So I'm just going to say first thing you want to do is test it in your driveway when you're going like 1 mile an hour to make sure you got brakes. So definitely check your brake pedal. Check it at very low speeds. Once you're comfortable at extremely low speeds, you've confirmed your brakes are working properly at low speeds, then you could do this. So it wants you to get up to 40 miles an hour and 5 aggressive decelerations from 40 to 10. So what it wants you to do is get up to 40, hit your brake hard, not slamming it, but going pretty aggressively down to 10. So you want to try to do this where there's nobody in front of you. Obviously, if you have to stop all the way, you would do that. But if you ideally are on a road where there's nobody there, you would go up to 40, hard deceleration to 10, accelerate back to 40, hard deceleration to 10. Do that 5 consecutive times. You're trying to create heat in the brakes. As soon as that's done, you accelerate to 35 and do a more moderate deceleration to 5. Do that 5 times. So these are all 5 times, like right in a row. So this whole process may only take 2 or 3 minutes. To go 40 to 10 5 times, followed immediately by 35 to 5 times, where the 40 to 10 is a harder deceleration than the next one. After that, you're trying to let the brakes cool down. So that's pretty easy. Sounds kind of weird, but really it's only probably going to take a few minutes. So that concludes this video. I hope it's been helpful. Please look in the video description for everything. I'm going to make 3 different videos off of this. I'm going to make one video that combines the front and rear, one video that's just the front, and one video that's just the rear. So if you're looking at one of these shorter videos and you're looking for the long one, just check the playlist, will be in the video description. Everything you're going to need is in the video description. Thank you for watching.